All right. Welcome, family, to another wonderful, entertaining, edutaining edition of We All Be News, Radio, and TV. It's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. This is Brother Ron. Hope everything's coming in loud and clear and in living color. We're going to have a special guest on today, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown, and also a growing fan favorite, Brother Albert Lanier out of Hawaii. Say hello to my Hawaiian friend. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just surviving the times. How about yourself?
I know. It's a crazy day, isn't it?
It's very much a crazy day. You already know we got to talk about
Yeah.
the Jello man, Pudding Man, Mr. Bill
Yes.
Cosby. But we all know your credentials and stuff. So you're a very prolific freelance journalist, investigative journalist, and thought provocateur yourself. So I'd like to get your thoughts about the case off the bat about this new
Oh, okay.
information.
I was completely taken by surprise today that it came down. The decision from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court came down today.
Mm-hmm.
But to be brutally honest, even though I was surprised it happened today, I'm not surprised it happened. Because from what I know of the trial, I'm sure we're going to get into this. What I know of the trial, how anyone could see this trial as completely fair to a defendant is beyond me. I mean, the trial was problematic for so many reasons. And I said, if they have an appeal, it's a good chance he's going to win and he's going to be released from prison. And it looks like I was right. I never gave that much thought about that. I wasn't looking to predict anything, but that's what I thought. I thought what I knew of it and what I knew of the case. Oh my goodness gracious!
I mean, how long did you have this feeling though about the case and about the outcome?
Well, I read about his legal issues, meaning Bill Cosby. I read about his legal issues, more than a year ago. I don't know if it's 2019. I read a book about it. And so what I read and what I've come to find out about, I guess in this case, it's the second trial because there was a first trial and then you have the second trial. What I've come to find out is, I don't want to say eyebrow raising, but, I was just on somebody's live not too long ago, briefly talking about it. Not much because I had to get ready for this show. But what I said was, you have a criminal injustice system, especially when a lot of trials don't work. So what I would say is, regardless of what you think of his, meaning Cosby's possible actual guilt, this trial is tainted. It's absolutely tainted. I'm misusing a legal term. I think the judge would have to forgive me because I'm not a lawyer, though I do apparently play one on TV. But the way I look at this trial, I just go fruit of the poison tree, which of course is a legal term. But I just view the entire trial as fruit of the poison tree. The whole trial was tainted. So, I mean, I think the people that, and again, Cosby has his defenders, and I'm certainly not one of them, but there's no doubt in my mind that this trial was absolutely, even from what I know of trials, and there are a lot of things that go haywire. People don't understand. There are a lot of things that do not go according to procedure. Legal shows, for the most part, never really give you, like, I don't mean just 1 hour dramas about the legal profession or about about the justice system. But I'm talking about any kind of show dealing with the law on TV. They never really give you a sense of how court cases are really conducted and how trials, what can really happen in trials. And it's odd sometimes.
I mean, my
And this
thing
one,
about well, it should never took place, man. It's a travesty, a great miscarriage, a gross miscarriage of justice. He had a deal with the previous prosecutor that there would not be any charges brought against him. He was honest about his testimony in the civil part of this atrocity. He paid the woman millions of dollars. She violated her clause and speaking her piece after accepting his money. And then the judge had the conflict of interest because it's his wife. I mean, he was an activist judge, not a woke judge, whatever. Whole thing was a travesty. Here's a black man who had means, and he was lynched by the judicial system. And you know, the greatest number of lynching victims of black people were businessmen. We just got to observing the 100th anniversary of the Black Wall Street Massacre or Negro Wall Street Massacre in Tulsa. And these were black businesses. A thriving, almost 40 block of black excellence down in Tulsa was destroyed by white arrogance and BS. They leveled the town within 24 hours because they were successful at what they did in terms of being entrepreneurs, in terms of taking care of their community. And Bill Cosby gave millions of dollars and countless hours of his time into so-called black institutions and individuals. The stuff that he did for people behind and in front of the camera is phenomenal. And yet this is what he get, a poor return on his investment on the people that he served and loved. And nobody's a perfect person, but it's atrocious to think that black folks have the nerve not to even stand up for this man who have given millions of dollars to Spelman College and other institutions. They revoked his honorary doctorates. It's a BS. BS. You got all types of people walking around with impunity, and they're celebrated as American icons. The 4th of July coming up. Who found this country? Rapists, pirates, and gangsters. Degenerates. The people who created this republic are the folks that nobody wanted. They either send them here or they send them to the prison colony known as Australia. You look all this up. You say, oh, Ron, you're just passionate and angry. Look, I'll fact check everything I just said. Okay. But go ahead, sir.
Right. Well, here's the weird thing about this trial is, if it were simply about racism, it would be simple. It's not just about racism. It's just, it gets into a dysfunction. To me, this trial was dysfunctional because of personal dimensions. Especially in regards to the judge and the former, I guess it was the former DA, who had made the deal with Bill Cosby. I mean, that judge should never have accepted this trial. And what I wonder about is the counsel on Cosby's part, like his attorneys. Well, I think at one point he had Tom Ezra, who was a very good attorney. And he was interviewed, I think the platform is called Vlad TV. But what he said on Vlad TV was, this was the most unfair trial he's ever been involved with. And I would agree with him. I mean, this trial is just dysfunctional. I use the term dysfunctional.
It should never happen. It should have been aborted.
It's a bad idea. I mean, it's like they didn't care that this was going to go to appeal. And normally within the justice system, if you're a judge, your conduct and your bearing, as well as that of the other officers of the court, lawyers, you want to be able to conduct yourself well enough so that you don't want an appeal or want a successful appeal. And they appealed to, of course, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. What I hear is not too many appeals at the Supreme Court level in Pennsylvania succeed. This one did, and it's easy to see why. It's easy to see why. When you have a judge and a former DA who both contested for the office of the DA and had personal antagonism between each other. I mean, we're not talking simply rivalry, personal antagonism toward each other. I mean, this is like something out of a David E. Kelly TV series. You know,
No,
Boston
really,
Legal's got nothing on this.
It's American history. Look at Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. You always had personal animosities within these professional so-called industries or levels to this, like Andrew Jackson. Look at gun duels they get into over, oh, you disrespected my honor, sir. Or you think about even back in the 1850s with Charles Sumner, the senator from Massachusetts, who was an abolitionist, how he was beaten to an inch of his life by Preston Brooks, the representative from South Carolina, beat him with a cane into an inch of his life. He had to convalesce for almost 3 years. So this is nothing new. We just got to be honest about the situation. This is BS, man. It's not even dysfunctional because families are dysfunctional. This is BS. This should never happen. And for the people,
I think the trial is dysfunctional.
Not what I'm saying. No, it's a conflict of interest. First of all, he had to deal with the prosecutor
right off the bat.
No, he should never been tried. He paid millions of dollars.
It's amazing to me that this judge had the temerity and
no. It ain't about the
arrogance to take this trial.
But it's not about the judge, man. It ain't the judge. The judge should never. It's common sense. There's no This is not the justice system. It's a just us system. It's the judicial system. It's the legal system. We already know just because something's legal don't mean it's ethical. Civil rights movement proved that. What I'm saying is people stop with the BS. If Bill Cosby didn't love kitty cat, he would never went to prison. He was a hetero black male, a masculine black male who wanted to be a boss, who wanted to have his own network. You see what he done? They killed his son. Whatever you want to believe about that, they killed his son. He kept on trying. And also in 2014, they were trying to take his land, like Kinder Morgan, one of the largest energy providers in the nation, was trying to run a pipeline through some of his land. Bill Cosby and his wife, Dr. Camille Cosby, own a lot of land in the Northeast. And they got together with environmentalists. Y'all can look all this up. And they protest against the pipeline being built on not only their property, but also other real estate property in the Northeast, because they believe in land conservation for posterity, for other generations to enjoy. Dr. Camille Cosby came out with an op-ed back in March of 2014. By the end of 2014, you had Bill Cosby under fire. Bill Cosby had a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal, had a sold-out comedy tour on the way, and this is how they railroad him with some nobody jerk-off puppet named Hannibal Buress, who haven't been funny in a day in his life. Where is Hannibal Buress now in 2021? This is BS. Call it for what it is. I'm not going to hear me hard. You know, I'm in Memphis, man. We're about to unveil the Ida B. Wells statue on Beale Street on her birthday, July 16th. Ida B. Wells was ran out of Memphis for telling the truth of how they did black folks through the Just Us system. When her best friend was lynched, Thomas Moss, for running a successful grocery business called the People's Grocery Lynching of March 9th, 1892. More black people were lynched for being successful business owners than for being criminals. Bill Cosby was lynched, and he survived to tell the tale. They couldn't break this man. He refused to plead. He took it like a man. He was a stand-up guy. He's probably the greatest black leader in America right now. Nobody else can touch Mr. Cosby. I'm going to tell you something else. His birthday's coming up July the 12th. I'm going to never forget when I was in college 20-something years ago in St. Louis, when they were killing black men left and right, the police up in Cincinnati. Bill Cosby was the first major celebrity to boycott Cincinnati. He didn't leave. He didn't wait for no consensus or see if he'll be still popular after doing so. He boycotted Cincinnati. He forfeit money to make a point. But all you so-called Negroes can talk about is the pound cake speech from 2004. Don't talk about the fact that he started the Black Stuntmen's Association. Don't talk about the fact that he's financed Melvin Van Peebles' Sweetback Badass Song, which led to the era of blaxploitation movies. Bill Cosby has did a lot of things for a lot of people and for a lot of institutions. And for him to be treated like this towards the end of his life is a sham. It's a disgrace. It's BS. It's not dysfunctional. It should never exist. You have families dysfunctional because of trauma. Bill Cosby came out the ghettos of Philadelphia. got his doctorate. Brilliant mind. Great friend of Dick Gregory. Spoke very, he said, if it was for Dick Gregory, I wouldn't have what I have today. Now, I just went up from Tribeca Festival and screened that movie, the one and only Dick Gregory is coming out on 4th of July on Showtime. People say they love Dick Gregory. They don't know the sacrifice he had to make. He lost a lot of money standing up and loving black people. Bill Cosby has lost a lot of money standing up and loving black people. And I'm going to let you have the floor, sir.
No. So I was curious, were you talking to people in the chat maybe? Or I was curious.
I mean, it's phrase. I'm tired of Negroes.
Or in general, like to the internet.
I mean, general, right? Okay, I see some people in the chat. I don't give a damn about your people too soft. You understand? I was friends with Dick Gregory for 6 years. The man just cursed me out like he was brushing his teeth. Then it's a house of family. What the hell? But the thing about it is our movement, you got to be strong, man. You can't have no weak, effeminized men or males or anybody in their feelings about this. This is tough life, man. You lose a lot when you stand up for your people and when you have a moral compass. Well, I'm saying I don't care about your feelings being hurt. Don't you know? I mean, people are so soft right now. You know what I'm saying? Especially black people. We the most bullied people on the planet. You worry about some old man saying something about some pound cake. It wasn't right what he said, but it was out of frustration. It was out of frustration. You understand? Like Dick Gregory, he lost a lot of his best. Mega ever see? This is what I deal with. I'm a study in frustration. Anybody who's awake and got some intelligence and talent, if you're a person of color, you're frustrated a lot, especially if you're a black male who wants to be a man. July 2nd is the birthday of Mega Evers. How many of you Negroes talk about Mega Evers? Y'all talk about Meg Thee Stallion more. You talk about Mega Wiley Evers, who got shot down like a deer or dog in front of his family at the age of 37, June 12th, 1963. I just went to Arlington on Sunday to pay my respect to Mega Evers. You got the nerve to tell me your feelings hurt. You know how many black folks got killed for less? You know how many black folks they put in mental institutions because they couldn't get out the sidewalk for a 2-year-old white girl? Or just for rolling their eyes and reckless eyeball. You know how many black folks been killed for that BS? You know, they blinded Isaac Woodard in his uniform. This is a black man who had Army medals, battle medals in World War II. He coming home trying to see his wife, and the sheriff put him off a damn bus, blackjacked him up and gouged his eyes out in his uniform. And you want to talk about, Mr. Cosby called me names to hurt my feelings. Hell, America been hurting your feelings. You still love this bitch. No disrespect, America. You know what time it is. But what I'm saying is, get out y'all feelings and start looking at the receipts. I don't want to hear about somebody hurt your feelings. Do you know who these people are that sacrifice for you? This is the thanks they get because they said something that was out of tune, and all the money you give and all the shit you do for people, and people want to think about some shitty speech from 2004. Bill Cosby had a comedy club with Red Fox. You know, Red Fox said, man, I'm trying to track all type of people. You got all this militant stuff. You got this Malcolm X Black Power stuff everywhere. Bill Cosby is Black Power. This is what happens when you try to exert the Black Power. Like it did Marion Barry. Marion Barry was Black Power. I had a chance to meet Marion Barry. He's from Memphis. I'm not that far away from the high school he went to, Booker T. Washington High School, as well as the college he went to, Lamar College in South Memphis. But what Marion Barry did, we know if you look at the white media, he's just a crackhead. No, what Marion Barry did, he created a strong black middle and business class in D.C. He defied colorism by making sure that the federal government, city government hired the blackest people from the Mississippi Delta he could find. He did a lot of things for black people, but people talking about he's a crackhead. This man almost had a PhD in chemistry. He was a couple of credits away from having a PhD in chemistry at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. That's how brilliant he was. But he said, forget that. I want to serve my people. Became the first chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And that wasn't enough. Got his activism into politics, arguably the greatest black mayor America has ever seen, because he made sure that even in the summertime, dig this, that if you was a young person that wanted a job, you could have a job, regardless of your social economic condition. He made sure that the young folks had jobs in the summer. A lot of these folks was able to utilize the savings from these jobs to be the first person to not only go to, but to also graduate from college in their family. He helped black contractors get jobs and contracts with the government. And then once he started doing that, they were saying that's too much power for one black man to have. We all have flaws. His flaws was loving pussy and drugs. We all got flaws, but they don't make him a bad person. Cause I don't know why. Because he was not corrupt. Yeah, he had his vice, but Mary died broke. A lot of these so-called people that we worship in politics, they make money off the people's gold. They become multimillionaires. They have their family making money. You look at the Bidens, the crime family Biden up in the White House. Look how much they use their political connections to secure millions and millions of dollars in their own interest. But Marion Barry, when he died, he was broke. So how was he corrupt? See, we got to reclaim these narratives, man. So I'm going to stop talking. Go ahead. But the people in the chat, I don't care about your feelings getting hurt, because that's why we know we can't make it now, because we too weak. We too distracted. We like, oh, he called me a name. She called me. I don't care about this. It's like when y'all say, well, I like so-and-so, but I don't like everything he said. You don't supposed to like everything somebody say. You don't supposed to be in agreement in 100% with anybody. That's asinine. You're supposed to be able to critical think and help and practice the art of free will. But go ahead. I'm sorry, sir. I mean to monopolize this, but you know.
Right. No, see, I didn't say anything because I've been on the show enough to know when you're rolling and when you have your indignation about something and you feel strongly about something, you go, okay, just see, you know, I'll like see what he has to say and just see where it goes. So I just, well, I'm used to that. Having been a journalist, I'm used to that. You listen. You don't just ask questions, you also listen to the answers. So
yeah, but if they could do this to Cosby, he had money. Who else is they doing this? They've been doing this to us for generations. And what it's gonna take for us to get an anti Asian hate bill passed? How many folks got to hang from trees and jail cells?
Well, that's a question that probably shouldn't be answered.
Why?
But again, I kind of like seeing where you were going on it and seeing what you had to say. Your point about Medgar Evers as opposed to Megan Thee Stallion, that's a nice little line there. And it may be true because it's a celebrity-oriented culture, right? I mean, it's.
Well, here's the thing about Medgar Evers. This is why I'll bring up, because I got to school people, because people don't get this YouTube thing is about junk food a lot of times. There's a lot of good information on here, but Medgar Evers had them celebrities wrapped around his finger. I don't know what it was about Medgar Evers, because there's not too many speeches of him talking. But Dick Gregory gave up his whole lucrative career to serve with Medgar Evers. He went down to Mississippi. He was on a Medgar Evers spell. Lena Horne was infatuated with Medgar Evers. I mean, she adored Medgar Evers. It was something about that man. He was a sergeant in World War II. He was a part of the Red Ball Express. They were the guys like Amazon Prime drivers or UPS. They were delivering all the supplies and stuff to General Patton's Third Army. My maternal grandfather, Arthur Taylor Sr., was also a member of the Red Ball Express, bobbing about in the buzz. He was there in Normandy. He might have knew Medgar Evers in the service. I don't know. They were both from Mississippi. And they both were Red Ball Express. But Medgar is used to putting his life on the front line for the advancements of ideas and causes greater than himself. But Dick Gregory was on his spell, gave up his whole career basically to join the movement. He thought he was going to die with Medgar Evers. But his son, his name, Dick Gregory Jr., died of SID, sudden infant death syndrome. So he had to go back up to Chicago. Medgar urged him to go back to Chicago. So Medgar ended up dying by himself at the age of 37. Medgar was just 37 years old. Malcolm and Martin were just 39. All these guys were friends with Dick Gregory, who lived to be 84 years old. So he lived over twice their age and some change. So he had probably survivor's guilt or survivor's remorse. A lot of his close friends died the way they died. They were family men. These guys had young families. And for people to get mad at somebody like him calling you out your name, look at how much he served our people. When the federal government cut the funding to black folks in Greenwood, Mississippi, back in '63, this is Kennedy administration, Dick Gregory got a plane full of food and supplies and delivered it himself to the people of Greenwood. That one singular act led to the organizers next year organizing a thing called Freedom Summer. He inspired the whole movement. I met Bob Moses, one of the key figures that organized. They said Dick Gregory, when we saw what Dick Gregory did as one man, bringing all that food and supplies to the people of Greenwood when the government denied their own American citizens any resources, they said we could do this as a group. We could amplify what Dick did in 63 and held Freedom Summer in 64. And Dick was involved in finding out what happened to the 3 missing civil rights workers, Michael Swerner, James Chaney, and Andrew Goodman. That's not Dick Gregory was the one who raised money and awareness about that. So he used his celebrity to bring awareness to people that actually was doing the work. Today's celebrities think they are the work. They think they are the eyes on the. They are the eyes. I mean, they are the prize. They don't think they're supposed to be the eyes on the prize, or helping the eyes on the prize get it. They think they are the object. They want to be the leader of everything, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I mean, well, their eyes are on the prize, but the prize is financial and economic, and not beneficial or societal.
It's very self-serving.
Right, because that's the way that American culture has bred not only those types of celebrities, but other kinds of celebrities in general. It's being an activist as an actor or as a singer or as an athlete right now is considered probably more of an anathema in 2021 than it was even in 1961 or 1971. Because the overall culture tries to basically atomizes people and forces people to deal with their self-interest, their economic and fiscal self-interest, their material self-interest, their employment self-interest, business self-interest, and even familial self-interest. It's an all hands on deck economy, and everyone's got to stand up, unfortunately, for themselves. It's just the way America is crafted. America is crafted with this sort of overwrought individuality. Individuality is good, but it's overwrought. There are no resources. And people wonder why during this pandemic that we have potential for millions of people to be evicted from their homes and apartments. Why there are people who do not want to go back to the jobs. Why you have CEOs not begging, but threatening people to come back to the office and saying how great working in an office is. These people sound like they're characters on that show, The Office. That's how weird it is when you have actual executives saying, working in an office is a perk. Oh, really? The closest I came to it was as a freelancer when I lived in Seattle. I had to go into a publication to write my articles because the computer I had at home, this IBM with Microsoft Word and dot matrix printer, that didn't fit their system. So I had to use their Macintosh. So I had to come into the office. So I'm not a guy who's normally worked in an office. And I don't see anything valuable about office. This is probably you talk about sensitivity and people being offended. I'm probably offending a lot of people now. The office jobs are some of the worst jobs. Office is a toxic environment. It really is. Hey, if you got to work in an office, so be it. But we're living in an era now where everything's increasingly automated. Technology's taking over everything, and everything's online. I mean, I was somebody who hadn't worked a regular job because I was a freelancer for 22 years and a journalist for 22 years. I retired for 4, and I just came back to freelancing, not to journalism, but freelancing. And I read a book not long ago about the way jobs are. Everything's online. You got to, you've got to go and apply. I mean, that didn't exist when I came out of high school in 1988. 1988, I actually had to, and it's interesting to tell people this, I actually had to go to job sites and fill out applications and hope they would call me back. and wait for that. Now you just go on some website and you fill this out, or you send a resume. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. So you've got CEOs and presidents of companies threatening, cajoling, trying to get people to come back to offices for jobs. When in fact, things are changing. And pretty soon you probably will have to get rid of those people anyway. You'll have to fire them, they'll be unemployed, and they won't have jobs. When they're better off working at home, which is a better environment for them, happier environment, and the work gets done. Trust me, I'm somebody who worked remotely for over 20 years. The work got done, I got paid, it worked out just fine. See, this is the kind of world we live in. It's a surreal country. It's an absurd country. It's absurd economically, and it's absurd in terms of it. That's the kind. And I guess in the case of Cosby, it was absurd as well. But you look at the way things are, you now have these CEOs asking people, can you blame people for not wanting to come back to jobs with terrible wages? Terrible wages. What is it David Graeber, the economist, said? I don't know who's the economist, but the academics called them BS jobs.
Right.
You got so many BS jobs because the wages have been stagnating since the 70s, for the most part. Slight rises. Maybe you get 50 cents raise in your wage. Yay, 50 cents. Yeah, you can get, I don't know. You can't even get penny candy for 50 cents. So this is the kind of country we live in. So when you look at what's happening in this country, what people are going through and what they're dealing with, we're looking at a certain amount of structural, economic, and employment and business change, but people who want to hang on to the old way of doing things.
Right.
Come to the office so we can use our new electronic equipment, our digital equipment, to spy on you and see what your productivity levels are and see whether you're up to snuff. So they will eventually fire you. You want to come back to the office, so you might end up fired. And that's what American economy has become. That's what the American worker has become. Yet a pawn in the larger economic system. I guess it's always been that way, but now it's still that way. And even worse because of ongoing and encroaching technology and changes in the overall economy.
Well, you know, they trying to get rid of people anyway. There's all this stuff is about depopulation and population control. They really know the system does not like humanity at all. I mean, most of the people in the world are living at poverty wages or living in poverty. So that's like, it's kind of weird. I go back to Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. It was written centuries ago. And Adam Smith said a corporation should be a limited enterprise. In so many words, it should be limited. Once I say we having bridges and buildings collapsing, right? We build infrastructure.
Oh, in Florida, yeah.
Yeah, not just Florida, but in Memphis, the I-40. I'm not that far from the I-40 bridge. I mean, it's a major bridge where you got 41,000 cars crossing it daily. Yeah. Memphis is a distribution hub of America. It's the economic hub of America. We have the world's second largest cargo airport. It's the home of FedEx and a lot of other corporations. So that's billions of dollars at stake. Imagine if they didn't catch that infrastructure that need to be repaired. You know, you could lost a lot of lives.
Memphis is still
be impacted on the long run.
Memphis is still kind of a music city, right?
Not just a music, man. You get it. I mean, look, Memphis is a distribution hub of the country. Period. Culture, economics, everything runs through Memphis. Train, plane, automobile, even boats. Everything runs through here. It's an important economic hub of the country. You got the world's second largest cargo airport. It used to have number one. Now Hong Kong is number one. So when you mess with bridges falling down and roads, that's infrastructure. You might lose short term. Yeah, lives will be lost, but over the long terms, more lives will be impacted. So this is where we at right now. So we gotta understand that these people don't mean us. No, it's not a personal thing. It's just business. But they're in the business of killing folks to make a profit. So with that said, we're gonna bring on a prophet of sorts to add something to the gumbo of this conversation. The Honorable Judge Joe, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, here we go.
All right, gentlemen, how are you?
Oh, it's an honor, man. I know you. Yeah.
I'm kind of losing my voice, but I'll see how long I can hold out.
Well, the people want to hear from you, Judge. What's your take on this? Because you've been a day one. You get this Cosby BS and all this other stuff.
That trial
go
was
ahead.
a damn disgrace.
Okay.
Everything that can go wrong in an American trial went with that. Okay, first off, Fifth Amendment. You have an absolute right to remain silent. In a civil action, if there's no criminal action, you don't have that right. So what happens is this woman sued Dr. Cosby. His lawyers brought up the Fifth Amendment and said he doesn't have to respond because he might be criminally liable. Well, the DA of the district at that time said, no worries, we're not going to prosecute him. The civil judge said, well, all right, you have to give a deposition. He didn't admit anything. He just told his version of the facts. Well, a new DA got elected and said, well, forget the agreement. We're going to use this statement he gave in the civil case as our main evidence. And then they started bringing in stuff, including some garbage from some I found, incredible witness from 51 years before the trial. The judge was a disgrace. He lost control of the trial. The proceedings are crazy. He let the jury get out of control. He let a spectacle be put on around and about his courtroom and courthouse. And the state Supreme Court just said, this is so much garbage, there's nothing can be done. It's gone. It's out. So Cosby walks out the door. Now, to get into some other things, this judge had 60 days to file a basic report on the trial proceedings. He took 9 months. See, stuff like that. Oh, we got somebody we think is horrible. Let's lock him up. Some women got done wrong. Well, women should not get done wrong, but when the women are essentially groupies who got what they wanted, because the old phrase used to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And they got just what they wanted, and nobody made anybody do anything else. Well, 15, 20, 17, 11 years after the fact, now you've talked to a Gloria Allred or somebody like that who's told you it's not your fault. It's got to be one of these evil men, and then you get on a witch hunt. And see, the main point is you don't want the government to get into the business of persecution. And with Cosby, you have two very bad things coming around here. One, it was right at the height of this hashtag Me Too fad. And secondly, Cosby was about to get control of NBC. Just stinks to high heaven. So one person is not really the issue. The issue is the impact on the entire system. And by the way, your guest here said he thought Memphis was the music city. I've been here for half a century. I don't know any income of any substantial basis that's made in this city from music. Do you?
Maybe barbecue.
But that's the room. It's supposed to be
Nashville.
Music City. It's distribution center of the country. And that thing, we just barely fell behind Hong Kong because of the circumstances of the last couple of years with COVID. So also a few other little geopolitical things, but I mean, it is what it is.
Now, I ask the judge, what do you think Cosby should do legally? Could he get his money back from the lady?
No, he can't.
He can't get his money back.
It's a thing called sovereign immunity.
Okay.
They'd have to have a special private act of the legislature to get him compensation.
So, I mean, could he sue anybody? Like, I mean, the judge, the trial judge, the conflict of interest with his wife. So he can't sue anybody. Not even Gloria Allred. I know his insurance paid out some of the so-called victims without his consent, which is Cosby's got royally screwed. That's what you telling me.
He was infuriated about that.
Rightfully so.
From what I understand. Yeah.
And it's mob justice.
It certainly appears that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, some of those women that were on that cover of the women's magazine that claimed that Cosby did what he did.
Right.
Yeah, I was at some of the parties way back when. I go visit L.A. and they'd show up, see through, 15, 20 minutes, the top would be off. Half hour, the bottom would be off, and they'd be walking around naked with a chain, doing blow, drinking wine, and giving people head jobs all throughout the mansion where stuff was going on.
Wow.
And they'd come back again. Now, they tried to jumpstart a career that didn't have much to it in the first place. And they're old and wrinkly, and they feel they got done wrong. They don't have anybody to blame but themselves. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what happens when you get groupies, whether it's NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, rap, music, you name it. Television, movies, celebrity, politics.
I wanted to ask the judge a question.
Go ahead.
I was curious about I think they're known as bad act witnesses in I think it was this trial in which Cosby was convicted. There were, I think, at least five bad act witnesses. Right. This is one of the things that I found very, horrendous, I think is a perfect word for it. None of their claims went to trial. In other words, they were just basically saying it was like she said against Cosby. So none of them were adjudicated. None of what they had stated was proven in any court that I'm aware of.
Well, let me tell you something about that. I know where
I'm curious as to how they were allowing those individuals to testify.
That's what that was inclusive in my statement about the judge was a disgrace. Now, let me tell you what I'm saying. I dealt with that a lot. You have to be very, very vigilant about that. The only time you let that in is that's the only way they can prove a necessary element of the case. They had what they needed, assuming it was viable. Now, here's what happens. We have this mass thing of everybody thinks they can go protest on the steps of the courthouse and get the verdict they want. That's mob justice. Yeah. You don't want that. The other thing is the stupid ignorance in the public today about law. Today on Twitter, and commenting about that, somebody said, well, he's guilty. Nobody disproved those women's accusations. Well, you big dumb fool, that's not American law. You don't have to disprove somebody's accusations. You have to prove that the accusations are true.
Right. Precisely. You cannot disprove a lie. As far as I'm concerned.
The other thing is you have no obligation to do it because under the American system, you have these rights that are looked at as criminal rights when actually what they were intended to be is rights of the public to be free from political oppression.
Interesting.
And that's deemed more important. They have a thing in American law that says, an old axiom, it is better to let 100 guilty men go free than convict one innocent man.
I've heard that statement.
But people don't get it now because they are part of this. Everybody gets a trophy. We are all entitled to get what we want. Outlook now that because they've got a whim, they want it satisfied, and they don't get educated enough. They don't get exposed enough. What education they get is not vigorous enough to get them to contemplate that there are other sides to any issue, but aside from the one that they want.
The judge in this case is a piece of work. And as a judge, I know you just stated that you clearly find this man.
He's a piece of rat ass shit.
Sounds like a good description to me. This guy is a piece of work. this, I believe his name was Stephen T. O'Neill. I believe that's his name. He not only invalidated the agreement, or said it, basically said that the agreement that the former DA, I believe his name was Bruce Castor, had conducted with Cosby. He said, that won't work. Not only did he do that, but he also made sealed documents, I believe, because Andrea Constant, who was, I believe, the person that was accusing Cosby, she had filed a civil suit. And the documents were sealed. And he said they should be unsealed. So not only is he allowing these documents to be unsealed, but he's also saying that the agreement between the former DA and Cosby was, I guess, in effect, null and void, or something akin to that.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm not an attorney, so I can only speak as a layman.
You can't do that.
Right. I mean, the moves in this case, I mean, I'm looking at one terrible decision after another. And again, I'm a layman. I'm not a lawyer, though I play one on TV. No, just joking. It seems like one terrible decision by this judge, who of course had run for DA in the county in Pennsylvania where this is adjudicated. He'd run against Bruce Castor, and they had a history of personal antagonism toward each other. I mean, it seems like every facet of this trial is like one rotten aspect after another. Now, I'm probably misusing this term, Judge, and I know since you are a lawyer and a judge, you know better than I do. But to me, this entire trial just seems like fruit of the poison tree.
That's a good way of putting it. Wong Song doctrine, the fruit of the poisonous tree. And that's it. If the tree's poisonous, you can't use anything that comes off of the tree. One thing we had here is we had a deplorable movement that I understand had a genuine basis for coming into being as #MeToo. But somehow or another, that seems to have gotten perverted, and it was moved on by the media, mainstream and social, where people forgot that there are larger issues. They just wanted what they wanted in the short term. So this judge didn't have the backbone, the professional integrity or personal integrity to enforce the law, which was you can't do that. He also strikes me as one of those I'm so familiar with that did not do all that well in law school. Because anybody coming out of a first year con law course in law school knows better than to do what he let happen.
Right. You know, that's a good point. I'm glad you made it and not I, because I don't have a law degree. So as a layman, I can't make those determinations other than to say it seems just a terrible series. Like I said, a terrible series of decisions. And
Let
from
me
what
give
I've
you
seen,
let me give an example. It's a trial in my courtroom. I kept control of it. The press was all into it. It was supposed to be this horrible rape. And they wanted to get into proof of all this other kind of stuff on the guy's behalf. So when the testimony had gotten to this point, check it out. The rape victim says the convertible top was down. They were in the park. She was forced to get on top of him. When she got worried about getting pregnant, she reached over, got her purse, got her keys out of the purse, climbed off of him, climbed out of the car, walked about 35 yards away, unlocked the door to her car, went in the glove compartment and got 3 condoms, came back and put one on him, and then got back on.
Cena lost the audio.
Yeah, what I said was she testified that she got off of him, climbed over the side of his convertible, walked 35 yards to her car, unlocked her car door, opened up the glove compartment, got 3 condoms, came back, climbed back into the convertible, put a condom on the so-called rapist, then got back on him so the rape could continue. And they wanted to bring in proof of other crimes, but when it came out later, there was a lot more to it that had nothing to do with rape. It was 3 women that were very angry with each other, and they had all sequentially been involved with this guy. So they decided they were going to fix him. I wouldn't let that in. The prosecution got mad. The jury, of course, acquitted him. And then a few months later, all that other nonsense started coming out. But you see, there's this thing. Being a judge is a nice job for a lawyer. It's not as aggravating. You're in charge of what happens, not trying to convince some idiot that your way is the right way. So a lot of people weren't good at practicing law. They didn't have big cases, so they get a steady salary, vacation, some insurance benefits, very little retirement, and they keep a job. So they don't look to the duties and responsibilities of being a judge. They look to the perks. And then, quite frankly, sometimes some of the judges some of us who wear the bat capes, we're just plain blockheaded, donkey stupid.
Well, Judge, I want to just verify something. I'm just tired. Our people so slow. We always 2 decades behind, it seems, with everything else. And people say, well, this is a fairy tale. This is an urban legend about Bill Cosby trying to buy the NBC network. Bill Cosby tried to buy the network several times. This is from New York Times, October 29th, 1992. He's not trying to buy it by himself. He had a group organized. Like, he was a part of a group that owned a Coca-Cola bottling plant outside of Philadelphia with Dr. J. And it's interesting to note that him and Dr. J both lost their sons in tragic ways. They found Dr. J's son at the bottom of a retention pond outside of Orlando in the suburb. I think it was like either 99 or 2000. I remember hearing about that case, and Bill Cosby's son, Ennis, was knocked out on the 405 on the suspect circumstances in L.A. These folks come to play. Most murders go unsolved, but this is from New York Times, October 29th, 1992. He's trying to buy NBC from General Electric. So y'all could just do a quick Google search. I'm tired of people being lazy with trying to find out what's going on with stuff. It's not hard to find. I even found another article I'm going to share right quick that talks about him trying to buy the network in 2011. So the information is out there. You just got to be willing to go get it. A lot of y'all want people to pass y'all the baton and, well, they overlooking me. I deserve to be the so-and-so. You got to take it. I remember I talked to Julian Bond 20-something years ago in college. Here's another one. This is from 2011. Cosby tries again to buy NBC network, not for sale, says General Electric, but bid is prepared. This is October 23rd, 2011. And guess what, folks? He was trying to buy stuff still in 2014. He had that major multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix. He had a sold-out comedy tour. He had a lot of things. He was not on the out. He was even trying to do a sitcom, from my understanding. So they snatched all that away from Cosby in 2014. And now they thought they could break him. He can't sue nobody. According to the judge, he can't sue anybody, Judge, for this gross miscarriage of justice. Nobody. He can't get his money back from these schools. They revoked his honorary doctors. All these folks took this money from him over the years. All the things he done for the culture, it means nothing. He got a poor return on his investment. That's what you telling me, Judge?
See, we've let the law get out of hand because we've allowed it to accumulate the power to deliberately bankrupt or financially ruin someone so they cannot progress in a way that certain other people might not want to occur. Especially bad in the federal system. They've got a habit of bringing prosecutions they know they can't win, but will financially ruin somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, see, if Cosby had that network, there would have been more decency, more appropriateness, more ethics, more morality, instead of this sleaze that we get right now. Most of these networks have an agenda,
Mm.
and the agenda is not a healthy one.
I mean, just to talk about you've been trying to get on TV for years, right? Back on TV
I
with a
don't care.
balance.
I'm too old for that crazy mess. But I'm blackballed. You know, I wouldn't go
Yeah.
along with their program. They tried to embezzle a lot of money from me. They were always doing that. This whole thing, I told you about this several times. When I had
Mm-hmm.
this show, it hadn't even been a month and a half old. They had a function. It was big ticket television. Had one. I think it was at the Beverly Hilton. It's been 23 years ago.
Okay.
And I was a bachelor. I'm young 50s and I like to dance. Well, I wound up talking to a woman that I had known before.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat at a table. She got up, excused herself to go to the ladies' room. She took a long time coming back. When she sat down, she said, "Do you know that guy over there, tall guy in the gray suit?" I said, "Yeah." Said he walked up and offered me $2,000 in cash if I'd sign a note saying you tried to cop fields on me. So she and I went around and found all of the women that I could recall dancing with, and we got similar statements in writing from them.
Mm.
So it's a matter of self protection. Myself and my publicist, she was a young female, we set up a trap. We invented a woman and we filed affidavits as we went along with the invention, who was being aware of it, and so on and so forth. And about 6 weeks later, these idiots wanted to call me up to headquarters to complain about me trying to proposition this woman in return for her getting employment. And it's the fictitious woman. And that was the story we were feeding them. So they had a fake letter. So they weren't there 6 weeks later. I was for another going on 14 years. But that's the way they roll.
Yeah, it's
That's why people
interesting.
get married so often in Hollywood because of
Mm.
this kind of thing. It's not safe to date. So if you want to date somebody, you marry them first.
Mm,
I
You
got
got
this.
too many gold
based
diggers,
on
freaks, and folk that have
right,
no
based
scruples,
on
no morality, and
right.
no ethics.
Well, I used to live in LA twice, and well, I didn't live in Hollywood proper per se,
Mm-hmm.
but elsewhere. And I used to review films as well. So what I know of the town, what you say makes a lot of logical sense because there's what I call a pay to play kind of mentality among among subsets of people in LA. Um, they're looking to get what they can from people. So the whole getting married before you know someone because you don't want to date, um, reminded of what Nick Cannon said on a show once. He said that there are people looking to get celebrities, to sue celebrities, get them into lawsuits, sue them to collect I don't know how much money from them. And it's
Get
something
a
that you have to
settlement.
kind of be prepared for. Yeah, you have to be prepared for if you're a celebrity, especially if you're a larger celebrity. Because I was always curious about that. Every time I hear these claims, suits against certain actors or certain musicians or certain people, I always wondered if there's a agenda going on, like
There he
people
is.
looking to collect. Yeah.
You get warned by your agents and everything of the latest scams that people have come up with. Like there was one, I won't mention the names involved, but there was a celebrity sitting in first class. So somebody got up out of coach to go use the restroom on the airplane in first class.
Mm-hmm.
The person deliberately stumbled, fell onto the lap of the celebrity, and then wanted to sue the celebrity for supposedly causing them to have a fall. That was one of the favorite little scams.
Yeah. That sounds like the old slip and fall. You're in somewhere and you try to slip and fall and you break your back or pretend that you have a back injury, a neck injury, and you sue whatever place you're in, a bank or a store
Yeah,
or
it's
something like
unclean. Now I got a sore throat. I got to get out of here. So, but it's been good talking to everybody. But I said I'd add my
Yeah.
3 cents to the mix, and that's it.
Well, Judge,
I'm glad Dr. Cosby got out. He should have. He never should have been in there. And the system drug its feet trying to keep him in there as long as it could to punish him, because essentially he just went along with some women who wanted to jumpstart their careers, and they were being groupies and they got what they wanted. Like this woman that was the complaint. How many times she go over there or call him on Valentine's Day after this was supposed to have happened? 7 times. You know, that.
I mean, there was no evidence. He was not convicted of rape, correct? It wasn't a rape trial. They keep on calling him a convicted rapist in the media.
Yeah, I know. And see, they do that. That's like Wesley Snipes got called convicted of income tax evasion. You know, I was there. I was a witness during the sentencing. IRS said he overpaid his taxes by $250,000. What the jury found him guilty of, by relying upon a firm that wasn't licensed to do what it did, was failure to file a complete set of tax forms.
That's
but
crazy.
they
Only in America, right?
They had a refund check for him for $250,000 for overpaying his taxes.
But here's the thing, Judge. I just came from Arlington Cemetery to pay my respects to people like Medgar Evers, and Joe Louis is buried in Arlington Cemetery. He's an American hero. Even did free boxing exhibitions for soldiers during World War II. Gave the government $1 million of his own earnings, and they still used the IRS to destroy Joe Louis.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe they'll do that with that woman with BLM. They'll Al Capone her.
Rat-a-tat-tat. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, anyway, I got to get out of here. So, gentlemen, it's good. My throat is giving out.
Hey, go. Wish you well. You're a trooper,
well,
Judge.
it was good to see you. It was good to see you again, Judge. I was on your radio show talking about Sam Cooke this past February. So
yes, sir.
It was good to see you again.
Thank you for coming on.
And happy early birthday.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Happy early birthday.
And I appreciate your insight here.
All right. Happy early birthday, Judge. We love you, man.
Oh, that's right.
It's July the 5th.
Monday.
That's right. I hope you do something. I hope you use your barbecue sauce this weekend.
That's right. I'll be celebrating the 53rd anniversary of my 21st birthday.
That's right. There you go. Man, it's an honor, man. I appreciate you. You're a true national treasure.
I'm out of here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that was Judge making his drop. Yeah, he's a trooper, man. He's been dealing with some throat issues, and just an honor, man. I heard about the Cosby. Yeah. I mean, he used his throat to make. He used that to make money. That's his. Hey, he used it to make money. His gift. But I'm glad we had a chance to get Joe on the record, Judge Joe on the record about this, because he's been consistent in his support of Mr. Cosby and of this travesty of a spectacle, like he said, bread and circuses. So I get a chance to ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
What I wanted to, that's why I asked him a couple of the questions and made the points, because he was a sitting judge. And in this case, the judge was, if not a major factor, the major factor in this trial and the judge's decisions. So I thought it was perfect that Judge Joe Brown was here, because you know, you have the sort of legal background expertise. But you were going to say,
it's a lot of things I want to say, but I'm saying the people talking about he's out on a technicality. He never was supposed to be in prison. It's never supposed to happen. That case was a technicality. If you want to talk like that. See, the thing about it is nobody's innocent of anything. We all guilty of something, but he wasn't guilty of what people accuse him of. And when you let innuendo and rumor and gossip become your primary evidence, then you have no cause for a trial. You understand? You can't. They ain't have no strong case against them. All these accusations by all these women over all these years, they could not produce anything that was really reasonable enough to hold them in prison, let alone have a trial. This was a waste of taxpayers' money and time.
I mean, they had 5 bad act witnesses.
Right.
That's the term. Yeah, bad act witnesses. None of these ladies had their cases. They accused them of, I guess, drugging and raping or what have you, or drugging or assaulting. None of these cases, none of these accusations were adjudicated. None of them were adjudicated. That means there's no record other than what, if you could call it, which it's only up to what they say. So wait a minute, you're going to have 5 witnesses testify that Cosby assaulted them without any viable, verifiable proof of it. It's basically he said, she said, he said. That's what it is. And again, I'm not a legal expert, so I'm only speaking as a layman and as an ex-journalist. But what this seems like to me is an effort to make them basically witnesses to Cosby's character. In other words, they knew, look, we don't have any cases where these women actually went to trial, and we were able to get records stating that it was either he was either acquitted or found guilty of this. So basically, they're essentially character witnesses, and they're done to prime the pump. In other words, they provide enough of a foundation that the jury will be allowed to go, you have 5 women that are saying that he attacked them. And then you have this plaintiff stating that he attacked them. Yeah, he attacked her. So you put that together, it solidifies the case. Because if it's just based, and that was one of the things they were contesting, is that the case should have been based on Constant alone. That case alone. You shouldn't have brought 5 bad act witnesses. And I see their point. Like I said, there's no adjudication, I believe, in any of those cases. Where are the court records? Where are the arrests? Where is anything? I don't think it exists, because it didn't exist because it didn't go to trial. You just have accusations. Basically, they're witnesses to character. That's essentially what they're doing. And I mean, I understand why the prosecution was doing that. Pretty clear to me, right? You have to paint him that way. It's like, I'll use an odd case here to make a point.
Okay. Right?
You have, what's his name? The Manson trial, right? Mm-hmm. The thing about Charles Manson is, you know what, helter skelter, everything. The thing about Manson is, when he came to the Tate LaBianca murders and whatever other murders were connected, Manson did not commit any of the murders.
Right.
He did not hurt anyone physically. He did not kill anyone with a knife or a gun or anything. Manson did absolutely nothing. He told his followers, go into that house and take care of business.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what they say. I don't know, but I'll go ahead. Okay.
No, but that's a fact. Because what's his name? Bugliosi, who was a prosecutor.
He's questionable though. His ethics are questionable now.
That's what I'm saying. Again, it's a legal system. Look how questionable it is.
Right, all right. But like we said, even bad act witnesses, who's the character witness for them? How can they judge Cosby when that character is questionable too?
That's what I said. You have no foundation. Where's the legal foundation? It's just accusations. But in the case of Manson with Bugliosi, Manson, of course, did not physically kill anybody. Okay. He did not harm anyone physically. His family members, quote unquote, did. So the way Bugliosi got Manson was he had to tie him to the murders through conspiracy. He had to tie him through other means. Otherwise, there's no way he would have been entirely found guilty relating to those murders, because he had no physical evidence. There's no hand, his hands aren't on a knife. His hands are not on a gun. His hands are not on any weapon. There's no hands on the body. There's no physical presence of him in the house. His family members did it. So if you look at, so I relate that to Cosby in the sense that I'm saying, in the case of Cosby, if you rely on the one case, which is Andrea Constant, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you simply do one person, it's he said, she said. But if you bring in 5 bad act witnesses that say, oh yeah, he drugged me and he assaulted me. And then another who says, one says he drugged me and he assaulted me. Another says, yeah, assaulted me, drugged me. And you have 1, 2, 3, or too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in a trial is a good deal. That's not, I mean, they allowed up to 5. But just think about it. You have 5 people coming up and stating he drugged and assaulted me. It creates enough suspicion within a jury that they will look at Cosby and go, if you got 5 women that are saying close to the same thing or variations thereof, something got to be wrong with this guy. And that's all they need to begin. That's all they need to start. That's all they need to build on. And so by the time this trial is over, this trial concludes, the jury goes back in that room, in their room, and goes, you got 5 women who are saying basically that he assaulted us. He assaulted us.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem like he is someone who's we can let go. You're building I mean, that's why, to me, I mean, if you had gotten, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why. I mean, there are many reasons why. It's very clear why. You mentioned technicality. People are saying he's not on technicality. No. One aspect is a technicality, one minor aspect, like the fact that supposedly the prosecution didn't file the charges in relation to the, what would it be? They didn't do it on time in regards to, can't recall the term. Yeah, it escapes me. A technicality would be some legal process. This is decision after decision after decision. It's not a technicality. It's eventualities. It's all these decisions that are adding up. That's why I described it in that legal term. Fruit of the poison tree. That's what it is.
The first trial was on a hung jury. They didn't have enough evidence then. They didn't have enough evidence for the second trial, and they don't have enough evidence ever. They can't try them again. People think that this system can judge your innocence or guilt. The whole damn system is guilty. Behind every great wealth, there's a great crime.
Smart. The DA clearly didn't want this case. Castor, who was the former DA, he did not want.
He had enough sense. He knew it was nothing there.
Because you're talking about Pennsylvania, you're talking about a county. They don't get national celebrities. They don't put national celebrities on trial in Pennsylvania. They don't have high-profile Hollywood celebrities that are getting in trouble with the law, probably in Pennsylvania, and that are probably convicted of crimes. There are only certain municipalities that would get celebrities. Los Angeles, of course, Los Angeles, California, New York City, New York. Those are probably the 2 biggest cities in regards to celebrity justice or injustice, however you want to look at it. So you don't get that in most municipalities. You don't get that in most judicial districts and in most counties in this country. So I'm thinking, this is just my speculation, that Castor probably said, look, this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be a pain in the butt. What can we do to get this out of the way? I'm going to make a deal. I'm going to make an arrangement. I'm going to make an agreement with Cosby's lawyers. And it made sense. It made absolute sense because he knew it was going to be a nightmare. And it was. It clearly was. because you had the state Supreme Court, who I understand do not like to reverse cases on appeal. They do not normally do that. Clearly reversed this on appeal because they knew it had to be reversed. They couldn't, they would be held, I mean, the Supreme Court would probably be held in contempt by people if they didn't do this, at least by legal analysts. And I know, you know, sometime before I came on here, I noticed that I think it was a prosecutor that was involved in the trial, where I think was interviewed by MSNBC or NBC, you know, the main NBC or MSNBC. That's it, statute of limitations. That's what I was looking for. The prosecution didn't really file the statute of limitations on time, for what I understand. But getting back to what I was saying, if you look at what's going on in regards to this case, he was given what, 3 to 10 years?
Yeah, he did almost 3.
Yeah, he did 2, and his parole was, you know, he applied for parole and it was denied. So he's already done 2 years on a anywhere from 3 to 10 year sentence. And getting back, you mentioned the first trial, right? Now you mentioned there wasn't enough evidence in the first trial. I think you had one bad act witness in the first trial, right? Part of the reason probably because it was a mistrial, or at least a hung jury, probably because if you focus on one defendant, I'm not one defendant, but one plaintiff, which would be constant. Again, you have a he said, she said scenario, right? But that's like a lot of cases. So what the prosecution clearly was looking for was a way to gain the trial, right? They had to go for it because they had a second trial. And so they said, we're going to bring in as many bad act witnesses as we can. One clearly wasn't enough. And so that's what I said before. What they were building was this foundation, right? You know that game Jenga? You heard of that game Jenga?
I heard again. They did the movie, right? Is it a movie with Kevin Hart and them, or that's something else?
That's something else, I think. You know, in the game Jenga, you build like a tower almost, right?
Okay.
Out of these wooden pieces. That's what they were doing with these witnesses in this trial. Witness after witness, witness after witness after witness, you know, witness after witness after witness after witness. And they got it to a point where probably that jury, again, got to a point where they were looking at it and going, it was hard for them probably to doubt that Cosby was innocent, because you have 5 women coming forth and saying, he did this to me, drugged me, assaulted me, mistreated me, etc. If it had been one, again, I don't think that he would have been found guilty, amongst other things. But they had 5. So that means they were stacking the deck. They wanted to make sure there was enough testimony so that no one would have any doubt that he could be guilty.
I know, hey, Jumanji. Thank you, Jumanji. That was the game, but Jenga you talk about.
That was the
Robin Williams did one. They did a remake and they get 2 of them. But right. I don't know how many you said bad act witnesses were only 1 in the first trial. You said
I one bad so. Act. That's witness. What I understand.
But my thing is this. My whole thing is this. This is scary that somebody can accuse you with no evidence. I don't care how long. The problem with some of these people that were so-called witnesses or victims, they was taking money from Cosby for years. He was helping them pay off bills, go to college, I guess. I mean, if you such a victim, how come you keep on taking money from your victimizer? I don't understand.
The money ran out.
Huh?
Apparently the money ran out at some point.
I think it's like a bishop. Hey, it's like a Bishop Eddie Long. I mean, people say, "Oh, he took advantage of them young boys." Them young men were taking advantage of him. Once he cut off the money and all the trips to Europe and the fancy cars, then when they got upset and went to the so-called authorities on Bishop Eddie Long. I'm not saying right or wrong, but a lot of times it's come down to the matter of money. with these type of people.
Well,
And the first thing Andrea Constant did was try to do a civil lawsuit, right? She's looking for civil lawyers, I think.
right, with civil.
She wasn't even looking for
initially.
justice. She was looking for money. She was looking for the bag.
But civil is, of course, very different.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but civil is different. I mean, had this been civil, obviously you wouldn't have had.
What I'm saying, the first thing she was trying to do is find out how she get some money off this, how she could finesse the situation. From my understanding, she wasn't looking for no criminal charge. She was looking for the bag, and he gave her the bag.
Well,
and he can't get that
also,
bag back.
You look at the fact over the years that that it was, again, if the prosecution was willing to make a deal with an agreement with Cosby's lawyers, that meant that they didn't want to go, they didn't want to prosecute this case because they probably thought it was going to be a headache and they thought it would create more problems than it solved.
They already knew there was no case. And forget all that, no disrespect, but they already knew it was BS. That's why they want to try the case. It was a waste of time. It was BS.
That's how prosecutors partly work.
No case.
That's how they work. That's why they offer plea deals. That's why they don't go after
the previous prosecutor he told Cosby, I think in an email from I read from see, these sources are hard to come by. You don't know what to believe in the news because they keep on calling him a convicted rapist when he was not convicted of rape. And you the press, you're supposed to know better. You misleading the people by design. And that's a problem. And then you using things to not cater to people's intelligence, but to peddle to their emotions, to manipulate their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a travesty. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna bring this up because nobody don't educate our people. We want to sensationalize everything. Y'all don't know who this guy is, right? A lot of us don't know who this guy is, but allegedly, this is the late Freddie George Helms. Who is this guy? Why did I bring him up now? Because 30 years ago, on June 29th, 1991, he lost his life in a horrible, tragic one-car accident. Him, another friend, was driving with this other guy. He was under influence. Dude was going 75 when he should have been going 35 miles per hour. Lost control of the car, ran into a telephone pole, and threw him and his other friend out the car, where they died later on in the hospital. The reason why I bring him up because we don't even understand what happened to Rodney King. This dude was one of the guys. It was 3 guys in all. It was Rodney King and 2 other guys in the car with him when he got beat up by the police. This guy also got beat up by the police. Let me read something very short. Help you understand. This ain't new what they've been doing to us. The same old. But Freddie Helms was a key witness to the passenger of the car driven by friend Rodney King on the fateful March 3rd, 1991 evening when police pulled their car over before controversial beatings by the LAPD officers on King. But before the trial of the 4 indicted police, just 3 short months after the beatings, in June 29th, 1991, him, along with friend Bobby Dixon, both 20-year-old Altadena, California residents, were killed in an auto accident. Their friend Robert Gilliam, 26, of Altadena, and the driver of the fatal car accident, was later indicted for vehicular manslaughter of Helms and Dixon. Before his death, Helms testified that he too was assaulted by police during the infamous King beating and arrest. Helms claimed, while handcuffed on the ground, he was struck when he turned his face toward the sounds of the King beating. Medical records document a laceration on the top of his head, and his bloody baseball cap was turned over to Los Angeles Police Department Internal Affairs investigators. California Highway Patrol officer Timothy Singer corroborated the claim, reporting seeing an unidentified LAPD officer strike Helms with a flashlight. Now, I bring all this up to say, there is so much stuff. Let me see. I can find. Let me see. There is so much stuff that they hide from us people. A lot of y'all didn't know there was more than one person in the car with Rodney King the night he got beat up. A lot of y'all didn't know that they got beat up. And a lot of y'all did not know that the guy who was a key witness in Rodney King getting beat up was killed just 3 months later. A lot of people suspected foul play. But who cares about another black person dying, okay? Most murders go unsolved. They're hard to prove. But I say all this to say, we still going through it, whether it be George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, Sandra Bland, black folks. We are the most bullied, we are the least we get the least sympathy. No, the Asians got their anti-Asian race hate bill, whatever it is. How many Negroes got to hang from telephone poles and trees and from jail cells for us to get sympathy? But yeah, we do ourselves a disservice when we try to pray it away, and we try to forgive everybody that we can't forgive ourselves. And that's a dang shame. So rest in peace to that ancestor, Freddie Hims. Say his name. And remember that if you don't control your story, they will always tell you your narrative. Go ahead, sir.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If you don't control your story, they will always tell you your narrative. And so that's important in regards to history, whether it's national history or local history or regional history in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Just ignore it. The local history of your city and your state, the regional history of the area, the greater area, and the national history. So again, in this case, when you look at the Cosby case and you look at what happened, like I said, it's very clear that they made the moves to get this conviction. They allowed the testimony of these witnesses, these bad act witnesses, from at least the early 80s until, I guess, up to that trial. I think the trial was 2015 or so, if I'm not mistaken. But they allowed that variation. So that allowed these individuals to come up. 5 bad act witnesses. Again, cases not adjudicated that I'm aware of. So you don't have court records. You don't have conviction, non-conviction. All you have are their word and their testimony that they were basically assaulted. So
yeah, I'm saying, well, no, the devil.
I keep stressing this because
hell.
I want people to understand. You look at this trial, that was part of the structure of it. Yes, there were other decisions. There were decisions that were made that are bad. But when you look at what happened in the trial and what contributed to his being found guilty, because I believe it was a prosecutor was being interviewed by NBC and MSNBC today in the case. And she emphasized, well, a jury found Cosby guilty. She emphasized that. Yes, the case has been vacated, the verdict's been vacated, and he's been released. But she wanted to make that known. Yes, he was found guilty. But if you're going to state that, you should also question why he was found guilty. You should question that. Because if you're bringing in these witnesses and you don't have the real support and real evidence and any kind of documentary record, any kind of documentary facts to support these witnesses, it's basically she said against what he said or what he didn't say. That's the issue. That's one of the big issues in this case. 5 bad act witnesses. I mean, again, it's very clear to me. They wanted to make sure they had enough ammunition in terms of testimony to go after Cosby.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I saw the Supreme Court appeal hearing back in December. Even the Supreme Court Justice of Pennsylvania did not agree with the BS. Majority of them didn't. They knew it was BS. This should never became a trial. It's a kangaroo court. It has no standing legally, morally, ethically, whatever you want to call it. Oh man, I'm just tired of people calling me every dang minute. Not taking calls on the show, folks. I'm gonna set up one day we got to talk, but I'm talking now.
Right.
But here's the thing: Black folks have been killed for less, man. Black folks have been killed for not moving off the sidewalk, for looking white folks in the eye, for whistling at white people. What the hell is a court of law when there's no law? When the mob controls the law, there's no real justice. This mob rule. It's always been like that for Black people in this country. We've been catching hell ever since we've been here, and we've been here before there was America. So we've been catching hell, and the devil's only more qualified to give you more hell, not mercy. So black folks begging these same people that would destroy your blocks and towns, that would lynch your fathers in uniform, you begging them for some justice and understanding and compassion when they'll shoot up your churches and burn them to the ground. You saying these same folks have the right to pass judgment over you, them and their descendants? Get the hell out there with that, man. There's no standing, man. Like you look at Meek Mill, the rapper, how he was persecuted by a black female judge in the Just Us system in Pennsylvania. The fact that they're playing around with John Africa and his family bones online at these Ivy League colleges. They destroyed a city block or two or several because you had a black man that was smart enough to beat these devils at their own game. John Africa had a brilliant legal mind. This man used to win all his cases in court representing himself. And the only way they could beat him is by blowing up his home with his family in it. And then they play around with his bones online for these Ivy League schools. All this stuff is coming out. So these devils do that. So you want me to tell me that I should respect anything they got to say about my life? When I'm the descendant of Dred Scott and Roger Taney, Supreme Court Chief Justice said that Dred Scott nor his descendants have any rights that the white man is bound to respect by law or otherwise. Dred Scott is buried right outside of Ferguson. You still got folks in prison over the Mike Brown BS that happened back in August of 2014. You had black activists, in particular black strong male hetero activists, getting shot up and burnt to a crisp in their cars. And where's the outcry for them? Senator Bland was murdered allegedly in a jail cell over a traffic citation over the weekend. And that jail is known for having folks commit suicide, especially black people. Not just, I'm tired of people of color. Black folks catching hell. Ain't no other people of color catching hell but black people. So-called black people. We got to stop that. We got no allies. If the person staring back you at the mirror, you don't know, ain't a friend, you got no friends. You have no black people, we have no allies. This is ridiculous. Kamala Harris ain't been black since she took that oath. Doing everything for everybody. Got a rice and chopstick agenda, noodles and fried rice agenda. What happened to the Chuck and Pearls?
That's a good question.
Yeah, but we don't got nobody. See, Bill Cosby is the only black leader in America. He's the only one. He's the only black leader. He had a moral compass. Oh, he cheated on his wife. He didn't cheat on his wife. They had to understand. Y'all some ignorant fools. You can't judge a person. Look, they had to understand it. She knew who she was getting when she married that man. She also knew the perks of marrying somebody like Bill Cosby. She might be doing a thing. You know, Ruby Dee and Ozzie Davis were swingers. That's their business. Y'all too busy caught up in people's bedroom politics instead of dealing with survival politics. Give a damn about who you screwing and sleeping with and sucking and whatever the hell y'all do. Licking and shit. I don't care. I don't care. I'm look, if you follow me around 24 hours, you're gonna be disappointed. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the mailman. If the mailman's a crackhead, I don't give a damn if he's smoking meth or shooting rocks. What the hell? As long as I get my mail when I'm supposed to get my mail. I'm more concerned about my mail than what he does in his off hours. You understand what I'm saying? I don't need no more heroes. Like Tina Turner said, we don't need another hero. Like in Mad Max, we don't need another hero. Stop looking for a grown man to tell you how to be a man. And just be a man. Stand tall. Bill Cosby, you got to stand tall. Don't compromise your principles. Don't let society tell you what morality is. You got to have your own code, your own moral compass. You are your own entity, your own organization. Corporation, me, myself, and I. Stop worrying about, is he going to build that school? I don't give a damn. I'm learning off my smartphone. I got a library on my smartphone. I got a Kindle. I don't know about it. Build a school. You know what I'm saying? I'm just tired of it. Bill Cosby is the only black leader in America.
Now, your point about the learning from the phone is a good one. Because you were saying before that people didn't want to do research or they didn't want to find out, and they could easily find out. And that's one of the problems that we have these days. It's a DIY culture.
Right.
You know, you want to do research, you got to do it yourself. That's true. Pennsylvania is a racist state.
Oh,
A very racist state.
yes, it is. It's worse than Mississippi.
I know Cosby's from Pennsylvania, and from Philly, but Pennsylvania is a racist state. I mean, and you talk about questionable things in that state. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, you could call it Mississippi of the North, but Alabama of the North, I think, is a good one. Yeah, it's a very racist state. I mean, I remember people would tell me about Pennsylvania. Said there are parts of Pennsylvania that are called Pennsyltucky.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Pennsyltucky, because they are the South, because that reminds people of the South and Southern attitudes.
Well, Biden, he was born in Scranton, right? Joe Biden was born in Scranton. Joe Biden was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he was raised up in Delaware. Delaware, like Mississippi of the Northeast. Delaware is like the Mississippi of the Northeast, man. So you got a slave master. I call Joe Biden Calvin Candy from Django. He's like Calvin Candy all grown up. He's Calvin Candy, and America is his candy land. And black folks, I don't know why black folks stuck on this Democratic plantation. Like, it was crazy. Trump spoke in Tulsa last year, right? He wanted to speak in Tulsa on Juneteenth, but people say you can't do that. Biden come in and speak in Tulsa at the 100th anniversary of the Black Wall Street massacre. And guess who destroyed Black Wall Street? Democrats. Democrats have been in the Klan. Democratic Party destroyed Black Wall Street. Allegedly. But Joe got the nerve to talk about, I ain't gonna get nothing to even the survivors. They've been waiting for a century for some type of reparations. They can't even get that. You know, a country is weird. America only expects black folks to work, make something out of nothing. We the only group of people in America that are expected to make something out of nothing. And we've been doing it time and time again. Because with the Black Wall Street piece or Negro Wall Street, y'all get caught up, well, it's Negro Wall Street. Negro is black and Spanish. I don't care. You know, oh, I'm Native American. Okay, I got Native. Okay, what? Okay, but let's get to the point. When they level Black Wall Street to the ground in less than 24 hours, black folks did not get one red cent. They filed for $2 million in claims with the insurance companies. Nobody got paid off. The white folks got insurance money for their guns and bullets that they use on black people. But what people don't talk about, that black folks were blocked from rebuilding in Black Wall Street, and yet they came back. Not only came back, but they were more prosperous after being destroyed in 1921. And what finally got rid of Black Wall Street was the end of Jim Crow, desegregation, eminent domain, building expressways in the heart of Greenwood, being able to spend your money outside of your area that you were constricted to. That destroyed Black Wall Street. Like Dr. King said, we integrated into a burning house. We lost our way as a people, man. We are so sick. We want to be with the folks that despise us, that burn our children in buildings. We love to be around these people. These people are just,
and that's why when I noted, when you talked about a burning house, I cite the American economy and the way things are in this country. Because if you look at the American economy, and I think the coronavirus and the pandemic has exposed this for what it is.
Right.
And I've said this on other shows that I've been interviewed on. I've said it exposes that this economic system does not work for workers. When it comes to African Americans, it certainly doesn't work for them, but it never did. But it doesn't work for workers. So you have terrible wages. You have jobs that don't give you much in the way of benefits.
Right.
And your option to make money is drive Uber, drive Lyft.
Gig economy, right?
Yeah, and for some, learn to code. And
hey, the more jobs you have, the more broke you are, right? The more jobs, the wealthiest people in the world don't have jobs. The more jobs they have, the poorer you are. The wealthiest people don't have jobs. That's how crazy it is.
Right.
They don't work for their money. Their money works for them. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I've told people. Like I've been a freelance writer. I was a freelance writer 22 years in journalism, 22 years. I just come back to freelancing. And what I'd say to people is I never had a job since I was 24. And what I realized when I was about 40, somebody called me and they wanted me to do this, what is that? One day gig, was a research firm. It was counting people in Waikiki of all places. And what happened was when I got the check, it was like $10 an hour for 7 hours, right? So I get the check, I get withholding taken out, $7, right? $10 an hour, 7 hours, 70, withholding $7.63. So what I really discovered when I thought about it was my simply working that day, even though I didn't care about it because I don't do it for a living. I write for a living. What I realized is I was losing money by working because withholding was taking money. $7, 7 hours. That's $1 per hour I lost.
Right.
I lost it working. So I thought if I had regular jobs like most people, I would be losing money. And people wonder why they can't survive, why they can't get by, why they can't make it. It's because you're working at jobs and the jobs are taking money through withholding. Social Security tax is necessary, but I'm saying the taxes take money from you. So you can't make money with a job because you're taxed at the source.
Yeah.
And I'm not disputing, I mean, that's just the way it is. I guess it's because that act in 1943 that was passed that allowed that. I mean, in the 40s, you had withholding come out. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to jobs, all you hear from these right-wingers and conservatives is get a job, get a job, get a job. Well, why would anyone want, especially now, they want people to come back to jobs. Well, what are you coming back to? A job that could get you killed because of the Delta variant of COVID? A job that could get you nothing but maybe, if you're fortunate, $10 or $11 an hour, or maybe 15 if you just work the right job. A job that gives you no benefits, a job with no health insurance. What do you got? You got nothing. And people realize it. That's why they took the stimulus. That's why they took the unemployment. Hey, I want to be able to pay my bills. That's what these people are thinking. I want to be able to pay my bills. They talked to one lady. She was Caucasian, but she talked to one lady on CNN. This was last year. She said she had, because of unemployment, she had been able to pay her bills, and she was better off with unemployment, the extra $600, than she was working her job. That tells you something about this economy. It tells you something about wages. It tells you something about where people are. And so when you talk about Black population, it's even worse. It's even worse. So what choice do you have if you have a regular job? I mean, if you have a job that has benefits, that has a decent salary, okay. But, you know, we're at a point where there's technological change and things are changing. And yet it's an economy that doesn't work for workers. It's an economy that doesn't work for the average person. It works for the top 10%, of course, top 10%, but it doesn't work for the bottom 90%.
Right.
That's a big problem. And it's a big problem that's probably not going to get better. And so people who do not understand why I, for example, became a writer, became a freelance writer, I realized it didn't matter how much money I made. I was better off because I was making gross income and not net income, meaning non-income that isn't taxed at the source as opposed to income that is taxed at the source. So when you get paid $700 to write something, I get $700. Whereas somebody gets paid $100 in a day, they're not going to get paid $100. They're going to get paid less because of taxes, withholding, all of that stuff. You know, a lot of this seems to me, it isn't taught to people. You talk about people don't know. People don't even know the basics in regards to jobs. They don't understand that working a job takes money from you and doesn't give money to you through a paycheck. The paycheck, you get the paycheck, but you get money taken from you and you accept it, right? You know, it makes sense. You know, I had a job 20,000 years ago. I mean, I understand that, but I realized working for gross income was far better than working for net income. It was, I mean, I didn't expect to be discussing economics here or financial stuff here, but I think it's important that people know this. I think it's important because how many of you won't hear this on CNBC. The people on CNBC and on Fox Business Channel and all those business channels, they don't even want you to open businesses. You ever hear these right-wingers? They don't talk to you about opening a business. They tell you to get a job. Why? Because they understand that if you open a business, you got a chance to make some money. Maybe not a lot, maybe not a huge amount, but some. Maybe you'll get by, maybe you'll be able to. It's a risk, but you're able to do it. Whereas if you have a job, you earn money and you make less. You're always struggling, you're always trying to get by, and you wonder how. So you have one job that pays you a small amount of money. Then you get another job that pays a small amount of money. And in the meantime, you have these two jobs, and then maybe you get a third job that pays you small amount of money. So you got three jobs paying you not much money, and you're working your butt off. And this is your life. You can't afford to go out. Maybe you could afford to see a movie on Netflix or Hulu, depending on what you have, and that's about it, if you have the time, because you got to go back to work. You know, this economic system is just completely unworkable and not feasible for the average, certainly average African American, and also the average American. It's just not feasible. It's not.
Yeah, I would say this too as well. I just got I had this boot on for the last couple of months. I had injured my left foot at the bottom of my left toe, below my big toe. My left foot, it was a gaping hole for a couple of months down there. I got infected and I kept on working out on it, running 6 miles 3 or 4 times a week on it, just mashing it up like hamburger meat, like hamburger helper at the end of my runs. And I just noticed before my birthday, hey, this stuff ain't gotten better. It's been almost 3 months. But thank God for medical insurance. I was able to get this boot, get treated by a wound care specialist. And now I just came back from driving from the East Coast. I drove 1,000 miles in about 18 hours. I came home yesterday morning and went to the doctor. They said I was 100% healed. But I just thank God that I had some medical insurance, because I looked at how much them bills would have cost me without the insurance. And it's a crime that there's no universal health care. It's a damn crime. You not only work all these jobs, you got to go to work a lot of times sick and in bad health. And it's a crime that they're killing people all types of ways. Right.
That's a good point. Health insurance.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons that I retired initially. Because I got health insurance. The only way I could keep it was to make sure I didn't make above a certain amount of money. First time in my life, I'm like, oh, I can't go beyond this limit, or they'll take my insurance away.
Ain't that a crime? Ain't it criminal?
Yeah.
They want to undercut your potential, man.
It was weird for me, but you know, the thing is, I was getting older anyway. I wanted to retire anyway, but I'm glad I held on to the insurance because of the pandemic. I would not want to go into this pandemic without any insurance. Think about that. Think about the people out there. They got to face this Delta variant, possible other aspects without any insurance.
I'm not even worried about that. It's just life is different for me now because anything can happen. We all know that life is unpredictable, but now it's like the frailty of life becomes amplified after 2020. Like how frail everything is. Like so many people dying around me, young and old. These things can just change in a nanosecond. You're more aware of it now than ever before, I think.
Right. I would agree with you. I've had to. The pandemic changed everything for me. I was retired for 4 years. I had 3 great years of retirement.
Right.
And then the pandemic came and ruined everything.
And everything in Hawaii, man. The economy is crazy. I mean, it's expensive out there.
No, it's terrible. That's why I want to get out of here.
Try to escape Hawaii. Paradise.
I'm fed up. I don't want. This place is so expensive. I saw one guy on YouTube. He's looking at apartments. I don't know how much it costs to get an apartment. And at one point he said he didn't even want to consider Hawaii because of expensive. there was a survey that said if you base it on a per hour rate, how much would you need to make on a per hour job to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in each state? In Hawaii, the amount of money was $38.76 an hour. You're not going to get, I hate to break it to people, but you're not going to get a $38.76 hour job in Hawaii. Most of those jobs just don't, most of the jobs here do not pay that amount of money. Unless you're maybe in the health field, maybe you can come close to that. You know, maybe if you're some high mucky muck in business, but for the most part, hell, they don't even want to raise the minimum wage here. They don't want to raise it. It's $10.
But minimum wage is supposed to be close to $30 an hour. And just for the cost of inflation, it's supposed to be almost $30 an hour minimum wage.
That's what I'm saying. They don't want to raise it. It's $10 an hour here.
But they'll raise the rent but they'll raise the rent during a pandemic, right? I mean, I think about Montana. Like they raise the rent. Why y'all raise the rent on people in Montana?
Because they probably want to
go back to work for less money.
Yeah, they want to evict them. Now, I'm thinking these automotive companies should build a car that you can live in, a regular car that you can live in like a house. I've gotten to the point. I just thought this like crazy idea, but I thought, you know what? Ford, GM, Toyota, what are the other automotive companies out there?
They got a couple, and they keep
Volvo,
on getting
BMW, even the high ones. You know what you guys should do? Seriously, for America, design a car that you can buy, that you can live in. I'm halfway serious here. It's not entirely a joke.
RVs, right? We something more, a little bit more affordable.
No. You need it smaller. I'm talking about your average, like not so much compact car, but your.
Well, they got the small house movement, right? They got those small homes that people buying.
Yeah, they have the tiny homes. What you need is a car that's bigger, like a tiny home version, but you turn it in. You have a car that you can convert your car, your regular car, into a place where you can live. And I'm halfway serious. I'm half joking, but I'm saying, yeah, because you could get a van and do it. But I'm saying what you need is a regular car, even a van. Make the van a homeless van. I don't know what you want to call it, homeless van, but call it no place like home van. I don't know what.
You know what? You look at
a van that you can turn. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was thinking about California. You lived in California, but the homeless. I mean, I was out in L.A. and Hollywood. They were fine on the sidewalks because the weather's good year round. I mean, you can be homeless out of L.A. and Cal, but you can't be homeless in Chicago or Milwaukee year round.
That's right.
Or those places like that in the Midwest.
Every year in some of these cities, like in the Midwest and Plain States and so forth, you have homeless who die from exposure to the elements, like during winter and so forth.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're not indoors during winter, like especially someplace like New York, East Coast, oh man, if you're not indoors, get it. I mean, I lived in Seattle, so I dealt with snow to a certain extent, but you're talking like 3 inches of snow. But the wind chill factor is like terrible.
But you got a lot of folks graduating with advanced degrees that can't find jobs in their professional field.
Yep.
So well, that's why people say, no, about people say it's who you know. No, it's who know you. It's not who you know. It's who knows
Precisely
you.
what someone told me. That's what someone told me. It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
That's about it, yeah. Like, I know a lot of people maybe gonna help you.
Absolutely right. Yeah. That's what I was told. I was told that. But I'm an old fart anyway, so the only reason I've had my career. The only reason I'm coming out of retirement, the only reason I came out of retirement is I want to move. That's it. I'm hoping nothing bad happens to me before I can do that. Well, I really have no other reason. I really have no other reason to go back into this cesspool of a work world. This tarp is I don't know how it goes, landfill of an economy. I have no reason to go into it, but man, I want to get out of here because I want to kind of live in a, I kind of want to be able to. If I have to live in an expensive place, I want it. Well,
it's hard to find parking in places.
I could get by in California. When I lived in California in 2008, I could get by because I could get food. cheap at some places.
Do like a
Why
Trader Joe's
everything's
or something?
Well, I used to go to a place at Hollywood and Vine, and I
Mhm.
would get a sub sandwich and a drink for less than $5.
That was
Decent
2008. Though. What
price.
about 2021?
That's what I'm saying. I went to the same place when I lived in LA in
Mhm.
1996. The prices were about the same.
Okay.
I don't know if that place is still open now, but in 2008 when I was living in LA, I would go into Hollywood because I was living in West Hollywood, and I could go to that place and I could eat lunch. In Hawaii, there's nowhere I could do that. I'd have to go to Dollar Menu and McDonald's.
You see, you got
To
the
get
4 for $4 at Wendy's right now.
There's not a
I mean,
Wendy's near me. I wish.
You stuck
I
on the
wish.
island, man. You got no Wendy's over
I
there where you
know.
live at.
I'm like, I never get that. That's why I'm trying to get out of here. I want to go live in a place where I can eat cheap. Hey, if the rent's a little expensive, fine. But I want to be able to eat cheap. I want to be able to eat cheap. I mean,
I hear what
I
you're
shouldn't.
saying. Eat good,
Yeah,
but
you know what I
yeah,
mean. Well, wait, you're in. You're in Memphis, right?
yeah, I'm in Memphis. One thing about Memphis, the cost of living ain't that bad, but you gotta look
Right.
at, and you're in the middle of the country. So let's say you can't stand Memphis, you just 3 to 6 to 8 hours away from where you want to be. We ain't that far from Nashville, 3 hours, 6 hours from Atlanta, 6 hours from New Orleans, about a little bit under 9 hours from Houston, about 6-7 hours from Dallas, 8 hours from Chicago, 4 hours from St. Louis. This is a great place in the country to live in terms of location. You can just go where you want to go. Cost of living ain't that bad.
The border state.
Yeah.
Is it affordable to rent an apartment or
Yeah,
buy a
very
home?
much now. I'm in downtown area right now. They're trying to gentrify, kicking out all the black folks, closing down the schools, historical black schools and whatnot. But it's still cheap to live. It's reasonable. Like you can get a place here, maybe for a good place. You get a good place close to $1,000. That's a good apartment to rent out. That might cost several thousand somewhere else. So you still got places like that, in the city, in decent places.
Right.
Because they knocked down the projects and they put condominiums in the. So I said the ghetto is not a real place. It's the state of mind, because they can knock down projects and build condominiums and then move you out to the suburbs and that become the ghetto. If you're not used to maintaining your own lawn and all this other stuff, it's your mentality you got to reboot and reprogram. It's the space in your mind that needs to be reprogrammed and recalibrated.
What I like about this discussion is it's kind of gone from this court case, the what happened with Cosby, to the economic situation.
It's dire right now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and so there's a practical reason that it's a practical discussion. It's a practical discussion. So it's not just celebrity. Yeah, Cosby.
Man, they don't care about us.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Celebrity.
You ever seen the Bronx Tale? You ever seen the Bronx Tale?
It's been a
Rob De Niro.
That
thing where he befriends the mob boss, the kid, Robert De Niro's kid, the friend. He first meets the mob boss. And he said, who's your hero? He said, Mickey Mantle. He said, your dad should be your hero. He the one to keep you like in a home and lights on. Mickey Mantle don't give a damn if you live or die, basically. He said, Mickey Mantle don't care about you. But yeah, you care and love Mickey Mantle. He don't know about your situation. But your father, he's working a job, providing for you. That should be your hero. In so many words, it's a good movie, but it's been a while too. But I'm saying we worship the idol of celebrity, idolatry, celebrity worship. But these celebrities, they are very flawed people. They have voids in their life. They looking for people to validate them. They say it's an old saying, never meet your heroes. Because most of the time you'll be disappointed.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that. It's they have their issues and they have their problems.
Yeah.
But I don't want their problems. Like I don't want Britney Spears' problems.
Well, the thing about, and that's another, I'm gonna tell you something. That bitch, she's like a MK Ultra sex kitten monarch programming, because she's one of them Disney stars. You look at the history of them Disney stars, a lot of crazy stuff going on with them. And, you forget people get Justin Timberlake started on there with Disney, Raven Simone, even go back to Annette Funicello and stuff. And, look at all the history of these people, how a lot of them end up in tragic circumstances and whatnot. And you look at the history of Disney as a corporation. We were going to talk about secret societies today, but we had this Bill Cosby breaking news. But we're gonna definitely
Right.
get into that in our next show about secret societies. Touch on a little bit of the stuff. But one thing that they do well with the Illuminati, they know how to control their messaging. They're good at branding and advertising and marketing to the masses and controlling their message. And you know, you missing Charles Manson. People don't understand. Charles Manson said he was CIA to the day. I'm CIA, man. I'm CIA. He was CIA.
Well,
He was a CIA asset. And not only that, he tried to be a music star. He was friends with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. There's actually songs that he done. He's not that bad at singing or playing the guitar, by the way.
he was a songwriter.
Yeah, he also played and sang, and he got recordings of Charles Manson out there, and they're not that bad. But it's interesting to know that he kept on saying that he was a product of the CIA.
Well, there is a book out about Manson.
Right.
I can't remember the title, by this guy Tom O'Neill.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, and I read through, I forget how much of it. I think I read half of it. That whole Manson case
is weird.
Is very, very suspect. It's so suspect. And there are other things that are suspect too. But yeah, you know, I kind of like how this discussion went, you know. Yeah, that's scary.
But we do know what it is, man. You remember familiar with Laurel Canyon,
I'm aware of it. I've heard of it. Yeah,
you know, like Jim Morris and all them guys, they all came out of there. The musicians, kind of weird. Canyon, yeah, Frank Zappa, all them guys. I mean, it was a guy that wrote about it, but he's dead now. Probably gave him cancer. This white dude. He wrote extensively about Laurel Canyon and stuff, lectured on it. He died within the last, I guess, maybe 5 or 10 years. There's a white guy out of Cali. He talked about Laurel Canyon, also about 9/11. I mean, it's so much stuff, man. But tell the people how we could get in touch with you. We'll wrap it up for now. Yeah. And I really enjoy having you on the show. Always.
Yeah, I think it was a good show. I think the judge provided some good aspects.
He did.
And necessary aspects. You got to have somebody of his legal professionalism on the show. If you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me on Twitter. I'm at Critic Inc. That's at CRITICINC at Critic Inc. or Critic Incorporated. That's on Twitter at Critic Inc. And I'm also on Facebook. So under my name, Albert Lanier, you can contact me. I'm on Facebook.
Okay,
so
excellent.
You can contact me at Critic Inc. and at Facebook. And I actually kind of enjoyed this conversation a good deal because I figured with the Cosby stuff that had come out, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to talk about it. So roll with the punches. I'm fine with that.
I want to thank everybody for listening, donating. Our sister Star, thank you so much for representing Cali, for sending some Cali love to the Cash App. Timothy as well, brother Timothy. Also, people in the chat showing us love through donations and for listening. And please share this. And somebody mentioned that I just want to highlight this to make a point. He said that the Beach Boys ripped him off. That was Charles Manson. He was friends with Dennis Wilson. And, you know, Chuck Berry, rock and roll god, had to sue the Beach Boys for ripping him off. So everybody still, like, you know, Picasso said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. That's part of the industry. Like, this is Black Music Month, and a lot of Black artists got ripped off. You know, Otis Blackwell wrote a lot of songs for Elvis that became hits. You know, Elvis, one of his first big hits, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, was done by Big Mama Thornton first. But yeah, he became a star off it, even with Little Richard getting ripped off by Pat Boone and stuff like that. That's America.
Yeah, Pat Boone had a hit in Tutti Frutti, bigger hit than he did.
Yeah, but
when it came to Blackwell, when it came to Blackwell writing for Elvis, you could say that he was caught in a trap.
Yeah. Caught in a trap, suspicious. Yeah. I love it. But you know, Elvis' favorite preacher was a guy named he had a church out in South Memphis. William H. Brewster, Dr. William H. Brewster.
That's right. He attended some Black churches, from what I understand.
Yeah, but this was this church still exists, East Tree Baptist, out there in South Memphis off Parkway. And he used to go there on Sundays with his friend Chuck Klein, who just passed away not too long ago, who was a part of the Memphis Mafia. That's Elvis' gang of guys. And they would listen to Dr. William Brewster do his thing. And Dr. William Brewster also wrote Move On Up a Little Higher. that Mahalia Jackson made it to a million seller. So Memphis got a unique history because even the mother of gospel music, Lucy Campbell, taught at Booker T. Washington High School for decades, not that far from where I'm at right now. And Booker T. Washington High School also produced Maurice White, who was the founder and architect of Earth, Wind, and Fire. So you're right about music, Memphis music. We got more musicians per capita than any place in the country, but at the same time, the way they got the economic setup in Memphis is a plantation mentality. But that's for another day and story. But thank you so much, Brother Albert.
Thank you
for sharing time with us today and dropping that wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
And we enjoy you. We love you, Matt Lee, in the words of the great Duke Ellington. Thank you all, family, for tuning in. Thank you, Dunk, for sending in the money, and everybody who's been donating, because it goes a long way. Because I was able to go to New York at the last minute to the Tribeca Festival to cover the Baba Dick Gregory documentary premiere. That's going to actually premiere nationwide at Showtime this weekend on 4th of July. But it's because of people supporting the platform, sending in donations, helping me, get my car, get the gas and all this stuff. I was able to do that for the people. So I got more content dropping in a few days. But thank you, Brother Albert, for sharing your time and wisdom and insight and gifts with us. Look forward to having you on to talk more about other things, especially those secret societies. Because I actually went down to the Georgia Guidestones. I have yet to really talk about that, but I went down to the Georgia Guidestones back in 2018. I met a woman from England. Her name was Nikki. She was actually traveling cross country from San Francisco to New York. So I called myself Boule Run. I called her Illuminati Nikki, but I'll say that for another day. But I met her at Georgia Guidestones. Y'all take care. God bless everybody. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. We All Be TV, YouTube. Also support the movement. Knowledge is the currency of the universe, but we still need money to pay the bills. Cash App, $R2C2H2, PayPal, Google Pay, and Zelle, R2C2H2 at gmail.com. Zelle, R2C2H2 at gmail.com, and Vimo at R2C2H2. Also buy Artivist art and wear it. Teespring located below the description box. This is my Ida B. Wells shirt. We're going to unveil the Ida B. Wells monument on Beale Street on her birthday, July 16th. She got a monument on Beale Street near her former newspaper office at First Bill Baptist. So there's going to be an amazing day. We're going to cover that as well. And also you go buy Artivist art and hang it. R2C2H2.com. That's the website for that. And let me read a disclaimer for the show. I always do a disclaimer. I believe in freedom of speech and stuff like that, but sometimes YouTube be tripping. But we're going to exercise the right to First Amendment and know that this is the disclaimer, though. The views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge and decide on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. And thank you, Brother Russell Clark, and so many other people showing love. I need to pay my bills. It's the first of the month. It's the first of the month tomorrow. So I'll make sure I stay in my apartment. They in and all that moratoriums on eviction. So thank y'all so much. And like I said, words together, we love you. Matt Lee, y'all keep on producing and pushing. Thank you to the moderators. You are my sunshine. You know you are. Thank you for helping me out with moderations, as well as the other moderators who are very committed listeners and supporters of the We All Be Info movement. So thank y'all. Take care. God bless. And until next time, look for me in the whirlwind, and I'll do the same for you. Peace out. And also, if you're on Instagram, I'll be doing a live with Kara Dangerous, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking about the BET Awards. I wanted to talk about that here, but we'll talk about that next time, Brother Al, with the BET Awards, whatever it was on Sunday, and some other things about the Cosmo. If you're on Instagram, I'll be on Instagram Live around 9 p.m. Eastern with Kara Dangerous for Kara Dangerous Talk Instagram Live special. Take care.